I just want to make sure that it's a true situation where we're not just getting the case dismissed and then having us to refile it again and again.
How do you pronounce that? Morquejo.
I honestly have no idea.
I'm sorry, there is an error in here. It gives her sole physical custody, but they have 50-50 parenting time. So is he not exercising 50% of overnight parenting time?
No.
Child support is calculated with Mr. Flores Johnson having 0 overnights. Do you not have overnights with this child?
No, I have never even. I've seen him probably twice, met him once.
Okay. How are you today?
Sleepy.
You're ordered to pay $992 a month in child support. Yes. Okay.
I didn't know in the past I was able to pay online, but moving forward, thank you, because I do make most of my money out of tips.
This is the date and time for entry of a judgment of support and paternity. Miss Soto, have you received a copy in the mail of the proposed judgment? Me now?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. So Miss Soto, did you receive a copy of the proposed judgment of paternity and support?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And Mr. Soto, did you receive a copy of the proposed judgment of paternity and support?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And ma'am, have you had an opportunity to read it? Do you understand all the terms listed in it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So there are 2 minor children. Are you and Mr. Soto currently married?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're living together?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, okay. And Mr. Soto, all right. So Mr. Brugman, they're currently married. So you're not getting divorced or anything, are you?
Your Honor.
No, ma'am. We reconciled our marriage.
You reconciled. Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
Mr. Brugman, I'm assuming that we're getting some aid from the state in this case.
Yeah, yes, Your Honor. And then in this matter, what's happened, the history of the case is we had our case filed, and then Mr. Soto filed for divorce. We dismissed the case, and then it was then we had to refile the case because of that, and then he filed for divorce again, and then we were about to dismiss it again, and then they reconciled. So the problem is it appears from the pleadings that there is some sort of playing of the system before these cases get filed, and we just want to make sure that that it's a true situation where we're not just getting the case dismissed and then having us to refile it again and again.
Okay, so Ms. Soto, you and your husband have reconciled?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So Mr. Bruggeman, how would you like to proceed?
At this point, if they're reconciled, and are they currently living together?
They just said they were. Yep.
Okay. Then at this point we have to dismiss the case again.
Okay. Very good. All right. So we will dismiss this again. So I'm very glad to hear that you two are working hard to reconcile and to save your marriage, because I think that is one of the most difficult and most important things you can do for the benefit of your children, barring like situations where there's domestic violence or abuse. But I wish you both the best of luck, and thank you. We'll dismiss the case. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're all set. Samantha April Brooks versus Filiberto Zamudio
Yes.
How do you pronounce that? Morquejo?
I honestly have no idea. I think it's like
Morquejo.
Oh, okay.
Morquejo. All right, I'm sorry, Mr. Rains. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I pronounce Morquejo, right?
Morquejo.
Marquejo. All right. I have a difficult name, so I always try to pronounce everybody's name right. You know. All right. And I have Lowry Rains appearing on behalf of Mr. Zamudio Marquejo. And I also have Mark A. Brugman here from the Lenawee County Prosecutor's Office. This is the date and time scheduled for a motion for entry of order. Ms. Brooks has appeared via Zoom, and Mr. Rains' client is present with him in his office. So I'm going to start first with Ms. Brooks. Did you receive a copy of the proposed judgment of paternity and support?
Yes.
All right, and have you had an opportunity to read through it?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions about the information in that judgment? Do you object either to the child support, custody, or parenting time?
No.
All right, Mr. Rains, on behalf of your client, obviously you reviewed it with your client, explained it to him. Are there any terms that he objects to?
Yes, Your Honor. We're agreeable to the joint legal custody, but we're objecting on the award of physical custody, also objecting as it relates to the parenting time and child support, and we would request respectfully referral to the front of the court on those issues.
All right, so Mr. Bregman, I have marked those boxes that the defendant has disputed those, and I will sign it. Is there anything else, Mr. Bregman?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so Ms. Brooks and Mr. Zamudio Marquejo, you're going to receive a notice to appear from the front of the court's office. Your attorney, Mr. may or may not receive one, so make sure when you get it, you make sure you get a copy to Mr. Rains. Sometimes they go to both and sometimes they don't. Make sure that you both appear for that Zoom hearing because it's usually via Zoom. And going forward, make sure you keep your address updated with front court along with your employment. So if you don't get a notice of hearing in the mail in the next couple of weeks, reach out to front of the court and double check that date. All right.
And Ms. Brooks, if you want to retain, this has become now a civil matter. And if you need to retain an attorney, if you want one, you need to retain an attorney to go to that hearing.
Okay.
And Ms. Brooks, if you'd like to reach out to me, I'm interested in trying to see if a resolution could be reached. You can call me at my office if you're interested.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mr. Rains, you're also on Lindemann White, so I'll take that one next. On behalf of Laura Lee Ella Lindemann, who is present in his office, Mr. White is appearing via Zoom, as is Mr. Bregman. So, Mr. Rains, you and your client were able to review a proposed judgment of paternity and support. Is that correct?
We have, Your Honor, yes, and we have no objection to its entry as drafted.
Okay. So, Mr. White, you also received a copy of the proposed judgment of paternity and support. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So do you understand that this proposed judgment grants Laura Lee Ella Lindemann sole physical custody of the minor child, and then it grants you both joint legal custody and it sets child support at $165 a month and 50-50 parenting time. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it's joint legal custody. Okay. Do you have any objections to the entry of this proposed judgment?
No.
Okay, very good. All right. So I'm going to mark the box that at the time of entry of this judgment, neither party has disputed the custody order in the complaint. Going for, well, first of all, I'd like to commend you because you have worked out an agreement and look like you're going to have the ability to co-parent your child. And it's a hard thing to do, but I wish you the best of luck. Going forward, you need to make sure that every time you move, you come to the front of the court or mail in a change of address. So our address is always updated for you. And then anytime you change employment, you need to provide that information to the court as well. I've signed the proposed judgment and child support order. Mr. Brugman, is there anything else?
Your Honor, you indicated 50-50 parenting time. Was that, did they edit the order, or was that usually our standard order says parenting time at all times agreeable?
No, that's what you put in there, joint physical, joint legal. Oh, no, you know what? I'm sorry, there is an error in here. It gives her sole physical custody, but they have 50-50 parenting time. So wouldn't that be joint physical, Mr. Rains?
Your Honor, the judgment, I believe my reading of it is the same as Mr. Bergman. It is sole physical custody, joint legal custody. I believe, Your Honor, is maybe interpreting a shared physical from the child support recommendation, which reflects, I believe, 182 overnights for each parent. And my client has no objection with that calculation, but again, she's she's satisfied with child support and the terms of the proposed judgment of paternity as drafted.
Okay, so Mr. White, I'm sorry, I misspoke. So Mr. White, are you currently, you guys are not a couple, correct?
Yes, that
You
is
are
correct.
a couple?
No, we're not.
Oh, okay. So Mr. White, I feel like it's always important that people understand this at this point, because if you don't object to it, it's a really hard thing to overcome in the future. So you and Miss Lindeman have agreed to basically a 50-50 parenting time schedule. Do you understand that?
Yes.
But this order grants her sole physical custody and then joint legal custody. Sole physical custody carries a lot of things, like she would be able to claim the child for taxes every year. She would have sole physical custody, which means that down the road, if something happens, you would have a higher burden to change. So you do not object to her having sole physical custody, even though you have equal parenting time?
No, that's fine.
Okay. All right. So I will sign those. Thank you for catching that, Mr. Bruggeman. And I wish you both the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you.
Time scheduled for a motion for entry of a judgment of paternity and support. Miss Miller, did you receive a copy of that in the mail?
Yes.
Did you review that and you understand all the terms?
Yeah.
All right. Do you understand this grants you sole physical custody of the minor child, and the parties will have joint legal custody until further order of the court, and parenting time is at all times agreeable. Child support is set at $106 a month, and parenting time is $182. Okay, hold on. I'm going to take a recess. I'll be right back. I know. I'll be right back. So I'm back. All right. So Mr. Bruggeman, I'm having a couple issues with this one and the last one. So Miss Miller, this is set up that you and Mr. Martinez have each 182 overnights, 0.5 overnights. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Miss Miller, yes. So you and Mr. Martinez share parenting time 50-50. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a presumption, and we always have, so that if you have shared parenting time, you have joint physical custody as well, and joint legal custody. So this order grants you sole physical custody. And let me talk about that. Sole physical custody benefits you in small ways, not great big ways, but it allows you to claim for taxes, possibly head of household. It allows you to make decisions in certain respects that Mr. Martinez would not be able to be involved in. But Mr. Martinez is exercising 50-50 parenting time. Our presumption is always that that is joint physical custody. So ma'am, do you have any questions about that, or do you agree to joint physical and joint legal?
I mean, I feel like everything is all times agreeable, but I do have them most of the time.
So is he not exercising 50% of overnight parenting time?
No.
So Mr. Martinez, you're awarded in here, child support is calculated at 182.5 overnights. Do you think, so Miss Miller is stating that you don't actually exercise that, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so what do you think you're actually exercising?
I have them every day. I pick them up every day from daycare and school. I have them until she gets out of work, and then she comes and gets them.
How many overnights are you exercising? Because that's what we actually count.
Not a lot.
Okay, so Mr. Bruggeman, I'm going to refer this down to front of the court
Yeah,
because
that's fine. Basically, the history of it is that this is a situation where we get the referral, and then at times they would say that they are together, and then other times they would say that they are not together. So
that's fine, Mr. Brugman. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm just going to mark that that plaintiff disputes the parenting time because she's saying he doesn't actually have them 182.5 nights. So that'll impact child support and whatever else. So I've signed that. So both of you are going to receive in the mail a notice of hearing to appear for a referee hearing with instructions on how to do that. That is via Zoom. And make sure you both appear for that, bring any documentation they request. They'll do a hearing, and based on the testimony at that hearing, they will issue a new order. Make sure going forward that you keep your address updated with friend of the court so that mail is received by you. And then make sure that anytime you gain new employment, you provide that information as well. All right. Okay, I wish you the best of luck. Mr. Brugman no longer is involved in this case. So if you wish to have counsel present at that hearing, you would need to retain them. Thank you both. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
That was
At the podium. This is in the matter of Alexis Anne Marie Malone versus Joshua Lewis Johnson. This is a date and time scheduled for a motion for entry of order. Ms. Malone is appearing via Zoom, and Mr. Flores Johnson is appearing in person. And Mark A. Brugman, P66065, appearing as the prosecutor in this matter. So we have a proposed order that grants Alexis Malone sole physical custody and then the parties joint legal custody with parenting time at all times agreeable. And child support is calculated with Mr. Flores Johnson having 0 overnights. Do you not have overnights with this child?
No, I have never even. I've seen him probably twice, met him once.
Okay, so child support is calculated at $281 a month for one child. So Miss Malone, have you had an opportunity to read through this proposed judgment?
Yes.
Do you disagree with any of the terms of this proposed judgment?
No, not necessarily. The only thing I would say, like with agreeable visitation, is I would like supervised visitation if all possible.
Okay, so, all right. So what I'm going to do is say that you've disputed the custody and parenting time provision, and then that'll get referred to a friend of the court. I can't order that today, but a friend of the court referee could if they determine that it's necessary, okay? But that would be up to the referee. So, sir, she's objecting to those terms. Are you objecting as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to mark that you both disputed those terms. So going forward, you will receive a notice of hearing from friend of the court for a referee hearing. I think most of them are via Zoom, and they have those instructions. If you're not able to appear via Zoom, just let the friend of the court know. They'll send out a request. They'll give you directions on what paperwork you need to bring and so forth. Make sure you bring those documents with you, and make sure going forward you keep your employment updated with the friend of the court as well as your address, and that must be done in writing to friend of the court. All right, so ma'am, do you have any questions?
No.
Sir? All right, very good. Keep an eye out for that friend of the court notice of hearing. If you don't get it in the next couple of weeks, make sure you call and check that date. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Lewis. How are you today?
Sleepy.
Well, I'm sorry. All right, so this is in the matter of Catherine Brink versus Michael Gerard Lewis II, file number 2009-34541 DP. So Mr. Lewis, so we are here on a show cause for failure to pay child support. As of today's date, you have an arrearage of $10,247.98, which is at the level that the Attorney General's office could charge you with a felony, which could result in a maximum penalty of up to 4 years in prison and probation as well. Your monthly charge is actually pretty low. It's only $151 a month. And the last payment we received was April 16th of 24. And we've only received 2 payments since September of 23. Your arrearages continue to increase. And like I said, you're getting up to the felony level. So Mr. Lewis, we've spoke many times. So what's your employment situation?
The same.
Okay. All right. Do you understand, Mr. Lewis, that failure to pay your child support could result in up to 90 days in jail? Do you understand that?
I understand.
Mr. Lewis, you have a right to have an attorney represent you at this and all subsequent hearings. If you can't afford to hire one, we can appoint you one at public expense. Would you like an attorney appointed to represent you?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Underwood, I have Mr. Lewis. I'm going to send you a screenshot of his paperwork. So Ms. Underwood, Mr. Lewis has been coming back and forth for quite a while. So did you have an opportunity to speak with Mr. Lewis?
I did, Your Honor. As I understand it, Mr. Lewis was told to make $150 payments a month. As I understand it, the last 2 months, he's made $200 payments.
Mr. Anderson, could you verify that?
I am pulling it up here right now.
One should just be coming through that he made like recently.
Well, he made it 2 recently. We won't show it.
Yeah, the last payment I show is April 16th.
Okay, he just made another one, Your Honor, but I think he's...
Well, that wasn't a $200 payment, so we don't show he's made any $200 payments. The last payment we show was $151 on April 16th.
And how much was that?
$151.
Oh, okay. Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Okay, what was the last payment you made?
It went through this morning.
Okay, well, we're not going to have proof of it. When's the last one you made before that?
April 16th. So every month I pay $200.
Say it again.
So every month I was trying to pay more than what you asked.
Thank you. All right. So, So Mr. Anderson, we have no way of verifying the payment for today, right?
No, the April 16th payment, it looks like it was a $200 payment, but he has more than one case. So only 151 went to this case. And then before that, it was January 9th was the last payment before that.
All right. So Mr. Lewis, when you make a payment that late, we can't verify it. So
I do have a transaction.
He does have a receipt, Your Honor.
Yeah.
He gave me
he's not here.
Numbers and...
No, I mean, I believe him. I just, he's not here to show me the receipt. So Miss Adams, when is my, okay, so he made it April, said he made May. So Miss Adams, I'm looking for a June date.
For Monday show cause?
Yes, ma'am.
24.
All right. Mr. Lewis, I'm going to set this over to June 24th. So Mr. Lewis, if you make the payment steady and in advance of the hearings, if you make the payment within 5 days of the hearing, we can't verify it. But if you do it before that, like try to make it every first Friday of the month or something. That way it's steady and we can verify it in time. But we'll verify the payment you made for May and then we'll see you back on June 24th. So please try to make the payment. I gave you an end of June date and I would just ask that you make the payment for June by the 2nd or 3rd week of June, all right?
That's what you told me. You said I got the 2nd week of each month to make a payment.
Yep.
You gave me every other month, but I'm trying to do it every month just to show,
That's good.
It's
That's
consistent.
good. So, yeah, so that should come in on time for the June 1, and you can always email your caseworker, who is Mr. Anderson, the receipt too when you get it, all right?
All right.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
I'll see y'all next month.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Let's see, you posted a $500 bond. Oh, is this from last week? Miss Underwood, you were appointed on this, correct?
I believe so, Your Honor.
Yeah, she
Right.
was. She was my public defender.
Yep, okay. So the last payment we had before that was December 22nd of 23. Miss Underwood, you were appointed to represent him. Do you need to talk to him today?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'm gonna send you a screenshot of his paperwork. All right, so Miss Underwood, you had a moment to speak with your client. How would you like to proceed?
Your Honor, Mr. Corley's employment at Gillies remains stable. He just got back to work last week. He will be able to make a payment of $209 at the end of the month, Your Honor, and he should be able to keep that up each and every month. I've explained to him that he may want to bump that up to $250 so he can get to work on the arrearage on this, Your Honor.
I've already ordered him to pay $260 a month to pay towards the arrearage. So is that correct, Mr. Anderson? That's what it says.
Yes, that's was in one of the other orders. Yes.
Your Honor, I just wanted to know the amount that I need to pay moving forward. That's all.
$260 a month.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Corley, if they don't take it out of your paycheck, then
Yes.
you got to pay it online. You understand?
Okay. I didn't know in the past I was able to pay online, but moving forward, thank you, because I do make most of my money out of tips.
Is this your only child support case, Mr. Corley?
No, I have 2 other child support cases in Washtenaw County. But that shouldn't affect my payment if I'm making payments to Linaway.
Well, but anything you pay is going to be divided up.
So even if
Mr. Corley, when you pay through the state system, it will divide it up amongst your other cases as well. The only way we could get it to apply directly to our case is if you paid it in person here, or you paid the full amount every month for all 3 of your cases.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, all right. So I'm going to set this out. You did post your $500 bond. Mr. Corley, and you understand you're at the felony level, right? If the AG's office should choose to charge you?
Yes, ma'am, I do understand.
Okay, and if you're making steady payments in all your cases, they, may not. So, all right, so I'm going to set this over to June 24 at 8 a.m. and I want to see a May payment and I want to see a June payment, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Mr. Corley.
Thank you, Ms. Anslow.
Thank you. All right, this is in the matter of Andrea Hawken versus Eric Lise, file number 2014-40451DS. So we are here today on a child support show cause. States here you're ordered to pay $992 a month in child support. And as of today's date, you have an arrearage of $7,967. Do you understand that? You gotta speak up loud so we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, so ma'am, the last payment we received was $1,100 on April 12th of 24. You work at Adrian Bay?
Yes.
What is that?
It's a nursing home.
A nursing home. All right. What do you make? How much do you make an hour there?
To be honest, I'm not sure. It's between 18 and 19 an hour.
Okay, and how many kids do you have with Mr. Zay?
2.
Okay. Okay. And you're still working at Adrian Bay?
Yes.
Okay. And are they taking the money out of your check?
No.
Okay. So are you making the payments online?
I've been trying to come in and pay the payments in cash.
When I show the last payment we had was last month.
Yes, and I planned on making a payment today. I had to wait for a check to come in on Friday. And since I knew I was coming in today, I just planned on making it.
Do you have cash with you?
I have to run to the bank first and then, yes.
Okay. And what payment are you going to make today?
I was hoping at least $350.
Okay. So ma'am, a couple things. So your monthly payment is $992 a month. If you switched, has it always been that high?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you switch employment or do something where you can't afford, where your income doesn't support the 992, you have to have an income review.
And I planned on doing that for a while. I was trying to make it work, and I was working like 150, 160 hours.
Well, they do them via Zoom, and sometimes they do them, you just mail your paperwork in. So what I'm going to ask you to do, the bank opens at 9. What bank do you got to go to?
TLC.
Okay, so Mr. Zay is here as well. So ma'am, you need to understand, you have no prior contempts, but failure to pay child support could result on a first offense up to 45 days in jail.
Yes.
The second offense, 90 days in jail. You're almost at the felony level. Right. You understand that? So once it hits 10,000, the Attorney General's office can charge you with a felony,
right,
which means you could be facing up to 4 years in prison, probation, fines and costs, and a felony on your record and losing your job.
Right.
Okay. So it's very important that you make these payments. So I'm going to ask you to do 2 things. One, I'm going to ask you to go to the bank at 9 o'clock and get the money out to make a payment and come here and make the payment and then bring me your receipt. Okay. And then when you go down in front of the court and make that payment, you should probably request an income review.
Yes.
Okay. And I want you to do those 2 things today.
Okay. I recently had a change in income. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I recently had a change in income, but I wanted my checks to reflect that before I did the income review. So I just waited until I had a check.
Okay. So Mr. Anderson, she can request an income review through the front of the court's office, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I need you to do those things and then come back up with your receipt. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So Mr. Zay, I don't know what your schedule is today, but I'm requiring her to come back with the receipts. So if you want to log in later, you can, or you can just, I don't know, it might take an hour or so.
Okay.
Or you can check with Mr. Anderson or Ms. Stevenson, your caseworker. You can check with her later today to see what happened if you wanted.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.